All right, y'all, welcome back to another video, Walking with God and Purpose. Something that's been really heavy on my mind lately, well, I would say, these past 48 hours, a couple of days, is on the walk with God, on the walk with trying to improve as a young adult, trying to, better myself, recognize my flaws, point out my demons, my sins, and try to get rid of them. One of the biggest things I realize is that I myself sometimes can be my biggest, I'm not gonna say sin, but my biggest setback, right? Like trying to better myself, trying to follow God, listen to what He's telling me, things of that nature. I realize just how much I am my biggest setback at times. Sometimes there is nobody else that's trying to hold me back. Don't get me wrong. The devil will send some people or put obstacles in front of you that's like, no, I can tell you trying to hold me back. You're trying to stop my growth. But a lot of times, it don't even take that. Sometimes it just simply take, I'm gonna just let you hurt yourself. Like, I know you're so addicted to that particular sin or that particular person or those particular items, whatever the case may be, that particular substance, that you're going to hinder yourself. And I recognize that in myself heavily these past, couple of days when it comes to communication, right? You can talk to somebody all you want, but if you don't understand where that person's coming from, if you can't comprehend how they feel, right, or why they're bringing this particular thing up right now in this moment, or why they brought that situation to you, communicating is only going to go so far. I used to be so big on the idea that if I can communicate with you, I'm like a top G, right? Like anybody want to be with me because I'm good at communicating. I'm emotionally intelligent. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things, right? But the biggest thing, that hit me lately was that I wasn't comprehending what somebody else felt. I wasn't comprehending what they were saying to me. Yes, okay. For example, I hurt your feelings, right? I said something that upset you, and you bring it to my attention. Hey, I know you on your walk with God. You talk so highly of Him. I see the changes in you. But when you said this or when you did this during this time, X, Y, and Z, that made me feel X, Y, and Z. Or this is why I responded X, Y, and Z. And then my response to that is, oh, well, let's just talk about it, right? Starting off smooth. But as we're talking about it, you see the walls, right? You see me putting up a defense in a way. And I'm gonna be real. I had a very recent conversation with a friend of mine, and I started like gaslighting. I'm like, wait a second, that's not me. Why am I in this protective state of mind? Why am I so focused on, quote unquote, protecting my peace, right? Because that's what I was telling myself. I was telling myself, oh, I have to do anything by any means to protect my peace. And I realized I'm being a douche. You know what I'm saying? I'm being rude. I'm coming off like I don't care. Like, hey, you told me you felt this way, but you're acting like this, and I'm just confused. These people are bringing that to my attention. And I immediately realized, after that situation, that I was going right into my shell, right? I was going into my little bubble of wanting to be safe, wanting to so-called protect my peace, to where I was refusing to take the risk of comprehending what they were saying. Because I felt like not only if I have to just communicate with you, right? Not only if I communicate with you or communicate with this person in the moment, if I comprehend what they're saying, will it change me, right? Will I feel like the bad guy? And in reality, that's what it was, I felt like I am the bad guy. And sometimes you are. And I was the bad guy to myself, not just to them, or not just to them in that conversation or that moment, wherever the case may be, make it fit for yourself. But in my situation, I realized I was the bad guy for myself because I prioritized my peace so heavily right? That it was actually causing me to take steps backwards. So then I had to look to God. I was like, okay, Father, show me, why am I being this way? Am I idolizing my peace? And I think that's a big one right there. A lot of people don't even talk about. When you start idolizing your peace, you start to make bigger steps backwards than forwards. We're going to go into that. But I was talking to God, right? I was at work. I'm talking to God. I'm asking Jesus, hey, can you mend my heart in that area? Can you open my heart up to myself first? Because though I feel like I'm walking with you and I'm improving on myself, if I'm not able to open up to myself, right? Because I'm getting so distracted in this whole keeping the peace, how am I supposed to open up to somebody else? And that was something that was heavy on my chest. I'm just like, dang, I really gotta work on that, because I don't want to be like that. Jesus isn't like that with me. Jesus gives me unconditional love. He knows every sin I've committed. He knows every time I committed the sin. He watches me do these things wrong and still chooses to be open with me and still love me and still be there for me, right? And so I had a moment to myself. Excuse me. I'm talking like crazy. I had a moment to myself at work, and I just realized I am the setback right now. In this moment, I am the person setting myself back. Nobody else. Nobody else is holding me back. Nobody else is making me do X, Y, and Z. Again, protecting my peace by all costs. That's just me. I'm afraid to feel these emotions. I'm afraid to allow someone in. And I had to recognize that with myself. I had to recognize that I wasn't necessarily taking a step forward in this moment. I was taking steps back. And sometimes it does feel like that. I will also say, just like a graph, you see it going up and down, but it's still going up, right? It's going like this, but it's still going up. That's what I felt like. I'm like, okay, I'm still progressing, but I feel like I'm taking steps back. And there's a difference when you feel like something and when you're doing something, right? I believe if I was actually taking those steps back, that would be me. Like, I don't even want to talk to God about it. I don't even want to go to Jesus about it. I don't even care. I'm just going to stay like this. Now you taking steps back for real. Now you stuck. You staying complacent, and that's making you can't even take a step forward. But because I felt that way and I recognized it, I listened more than I spoke to the person, right? I listened to God more than I wanted to do it my way. That allowed me to take a moment to myself, right? Recognize, again, I'm idolizing my peace. I have this image in my head of what my peace should look like, what it feels like, and I can't let anything destroy that. I can't let anything get in the way of that. That's not right. Don't get me wrong. Keep your peace, but don't idolize your peace. Don't turn your peace into something imaginary. And when I say imaginary, I mean you live in a false world if you think that you're going to be at peace 24/7 for the rest of your entire life. There's going to be challenges that really get to you. There's going to be challenges that really got to pull you out of that grut. You know what I'm saying? Out of that grit. Like, you got to get that grit out of you. You just got to get tight. You know what I'm saying? You got to lock in. There's so many analogies I could use, but if you get what I'm saying, then that's cool. But with that being said, that's what I had to recognize. I had to realize for myself, I'm not going to be peaceful 24/7. Some things are going to get to me. Some things are going to be difficult. Some things are going to bother me, right? But it's up to me to make the choice to try to learn from it. Invite God into the situation. Allow Jesus to be a part of the situation. You don't got to do it by yourself. You don't got to do it alone. I think a lot of people got that mixed up. They think that you got to do it alone. And in reality, you don't. You don't have to do it alone. You feel like you're doing it alone, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? As long as you allow God into it, you're not. You can have all the friends in the world, all the family members in the world got your back, and that's a beautiful thing. That's good. But if you don't feel like you got God, if you don't feel like you got Jesus standing right by you, going through whatever storm it is or whatever challenge or difficulty you may be facing in that moment, you really gonna feel alone. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was highly alone in that moment because I was I wasn't allowing Jesus into that moment of, let me protect my peace, right? I had to go to him. I was telling myself, oh yeah, I'm walking with God. But there was that one thing, I'm like, nah, let me keep this to myself. I don't need him a part of that because it's already good. Like, what do I need him for? That's what I was really thinking, but didn't want to admit it to myself, right? Like, why do I need to invite him into this part if it's already at peace, if it's already good? And that one thing that I believe was so at peace, or was my peace, was actually that was the thing that was holding me back. And so I need to nip it in the butt right now. I need to get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? I need to get rid of that feeling of idolizing my peace, because I'm not going to be at peace 24/7 for the rest of my life. There are going to be hard times. There are going to be challenges. By all means, do what you can to stay at peace. Have a peace of mind when facing things, right? That's a good thing to have. But don't prioritize your peace so heavily to where you don't even allow yourself to grow, to change, to develop, to allow these, what we call bad things or bad times in our lives, to better yourself, right? Better yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We're gonna turn around right here. We don't walk pretty far away from the house. And I think that's the reality of it, for real. The reality of it is, allow these things to come into your life. Allow these things to better you. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing you need to do is recognize when you have Jesus with you and when you don't. If you can do that, you got like 80% of the work out the way. For real, like real talk, you got 80% of the work out the way. If you can just recognize when you got Jesus in your life, or when you got Jesus walking by you, and when you don't. And that was something I had to realize. I thought I was doing so well on this whole healing journey, right? On this walk with God, literally as I'm walking. That's the purpose of this channel. That I didn't realize that, matter of fact, no, you walking further away from him, because now you trying to prioritize, your peace of mind, right? You trying to prioritize not getting hurt, not taking that risk with somebody, or risk in that job, or risk with yourself, whatever the case may be. Make it fit for you. That you was actually walking further away from Jesus. And so I had to realize that for myself. And I wanted to bring that to y'all because as a young man, as a young adult, sometimes it's difficult for me to realize when I'm doing wrong. And the only way I'm really gonna know if I'm doing wrong is if I allow myself to take a moment to myself and recognize the things that I'm doing. Ask myself, does this feel good? Oh, we got a bike going by. I had to ask myself, does this feel good, right? Does this make me feel like my highest self? Do I feel proud of the things I'm saying in this moment? Do I feel proud of the things that I'm doing in this moment? Ask yourself those questions, like, wholeheartedly. Don't let your pride or your ego get in the way and answer those questions for you. Don't do that. Be real with yourself, Am I actually walking with Jesus, walking with God, the Holy Spirit, in this situation right now? Because a lot of times, we start and then we just be like, well, I'm on my walking journey with God. I'm on my healing journey with God. I'm straight. In reality, are you putting the work in, though? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm physically walking right now. But emotionally, mentally, if I don't keep walking with Jesus, I'm not going nowhere. It's a constant thing. It don't just stop once you say I'm walking with God and you want to show everybody on social media, oh, he look like he's healing, things of that nature. And it's only so much people gonna believe regardless. It's only so much you can try to convince somebody. But that's not even the main focus. The main focus is, as a young adult, as a young man, as a young woman, right? As a young woman, as they say in the Bible. I'll be trying to correct myself with that. You got to be real with yourself, because at the end of the day, when you gone, you gone. But we ain't even gonna go that deep into that. That's for another video. I just really wanted to focus on, that sense of when we say we got to keep our peace. I'm protecting my peace. What's that mean? What's that look like to you? Truly, what does that look like to you? Protecting your peace. Because for me, it started turning into idolizing it. And then it actually started hurting me more. It started hindering me from healing and from growing into the young man, you know, that I know God is destined, has me destined to become, right? And I had to recognize that for myself. But that's pretty much all I wanted to say. I'm gonna leave it at that. You know, always ask yourself, am I walking with Jesus in this situation, in this moment, at this time? I'm not saying every single second of your day, you know what I'm saying? I get it, we're human, we gonna make flaws, we gonna make mistakes, we gonna sin constantly. You can't run away from sin in a I don't wanna say in a literal sense, right? Because you're going to sin, especially if God blesses you with a long life. You're gonna make mistakes. But if you can point them out and then ask Jesus to help you stay away from it, right? To not make that same mistake again, then you on the right path right there. That's how I feel. You know, don't just take my word for it though. Read your word. Read your word. Read the Bible. I promise you. 99% of your answers are in that book. Like, I'm so serious. That 1% is what you feel between you and God, that connection, where it don't take words. But 99%, 99.9. But I'm gonna leave it at that because it's about to rain and I got to get back to the house. I'm still a little ways away. Still a little ways away from the house. But yeah, stay blessed. Read your word. Pray. Thank the Father. I give all the glory to God. Y'all have a good one. And I'll catch y'all in the next video.